At sunrise, a nervous courtier arrives at Versailles with one job: be noticed by the king. Unfortunately, several thousand people have the same business plan. His hat feather is perfect. It will not survive the morning. Versailles was a machine built from rooms, rituals, mirrors, gardens, and rationed access to one man. Why move a government 20 kilometers from Paris? And how could a hunting lodge operate royal power? Louis XIII first built a modest brick and stone hunting lodge here in 1624. Then Louis XIV saw his father's quiet retreat and diagnosed a shortage of gold, fountains, and people waiting outside doors. Major construction began in 1661. Architects, artists, gardeners, and armies of workers expanded it. New wings wrapped around the lodge, courtyards stretched outward, and gardens fell into controlled lines. By 1682, Versailles had become the main residence of the French court and the headquarters of government. The king had not moved away from politics. He had moved politics into his house. Depending on the day, roughly 3,000 to 10,000 people occupied the court. Royal favor could mean money, offices, accommodation, influence, or the rare privilege of standing slightly closer to breakfast. Strict etiquette governed who could approach, enter, or remain professionally delighted in a corridor. Parts of the king's morning, rising, and evening retirement became ceremonies. Versailles turned proximity into currency, and architecture controlled the exchange rate. Every doorway filtered the crowd. The closer a visitor moved toward the king's private space, the more exclusive the access. Our courtier squeezes through one doorway, repairs his feather, and discovers another doorway guarded by a man whose entire career appears to be saying no with excellent posture. Then comes the Hall of Mirrors. It runs for 73 meters, with 357 mirrors arranged across 17 arches opposite the windows. Mirrors of this scale were expensive demonstrations of French manufacturing skill. They also turned visitors into part of the display. Sunlight, chandeliers, courtiers, uniforms, and the king's image multiplied down the gallery. Power surrounded everyone in reflections. Our courtier bows to an important-looking figure, then realizes he has greeted himself from 12 angles. Outside, the same idea continues at landscape scale. Across roughly 2,000 acres, André Le Nôtre organized terraces, groves, canals, statues, and fountains along immense visual axes. Nature was not invited to improvise. Trees stood in formation. Hedges obeyed geometry. Even the horizon appeared to have received instructions. There was one inconvenience. Versailles did not have enough water. The marshy estate still lacked a useful supply for its fountains. By the end of Louis XIV's reign, about 1,600 water jets consumed thousands of cubic meters per hour. Engineers created reservoirs, pumps, channels, and gravity-fed networks to keep the performance moving. The palace had turned a water shortage into a hydraulic stage production. Our courtier opens an umbrella 1 second late. The feather is now a damp comma. But spectacle was not decoration added after government. The spectacle was part of government. Ceremonies kept powerful nobles nearby, visible, and competing for attention. The palace placed the king at the center of daily life. Versailles made authority feel permanent because the walls, gardens, schedules, and people all pointed toward the same person. After the events of 1789, the royal family was taken back to Paris and the palace lost its role as the center of government. The political machine stopped, but the building remained. It later became a museum, while its design influenced royal residences across Europe for more than a century. So why did Louis XIV build Versailles? Not simply to live somewhere magnificent. He built a place where access could be granted, status could be displayed, rivals could be watched, and power could be performed every day. Versailles was not an escape from politics. It was politics, redesigned as architecture. At sunset, our courtier finally reaches the perfect position to be noticed. The king has already left. His feather resigns.